you want me here or here?
There. Either one.
Okay.
It's usually
No,
better.
yeah.
And
You wanna
my,
take for like
all right, so now we are going to interview Miss Jessie Flowers, and we'll get started. Who would like to ask the first question? Mr. Allen, you want to get started, sir?
Hi, my name is Alan.
Hi.
So I know you're gonna get a bunch of top questions, so I'll just do something else. So I'm an actor and screenwriter as well. So I was wondering if you have any other like works you're working on as far as screenwriting or like short films that you can tell us about.
Yeah, so any projects related to kind of acting and screenwriting that I can talk about right now. I am currently actually in a screenwriting, well not screenwriting, TV pilot specifically writing class on weekends. I majored in screenwriting, but writing for film and writing for TV, a little different. So I'm trying to expand my capabilities a little right now. I actually spent some of yesterday during my lunch break pitching my new beat sheet for a pilot that I'm working on. So nothing finished, nothing pitched as far as the writing world goes, but still polishing, honing. Because after I graduated, I was focused mainly on acting. So the writing has been kind of coming back around. Hopefully that'll change in the next couple of years. We'll see. As far as acting goes, I am actually working on a video game right now. I can't disclose the full name, but it's familiar. People will know what it is. It's technically just redoing something that already exists, so it'll be familiar and is going very well. I didn't realize how big my part was until they're like, okay, send us your schedule for June, and I think I'm like six 4-hour sessions are like reserved, so whew, lots of lines. But aside from that, those are kind of like the main two big things, and then just regular auditions. Anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 to sometimes up to 8 a week, which sounds great, but most of those will be no's. That's just how it goes. So yeah, auditioning, doing that one video game gig, doing things like this on some weekends, and then that writing class. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Sounds like you have a lot of things to be doing.
Yeah, and funnily enough, this is the lightest my schedule has been so far, because I finally said no to a bunch of other things so I can focus on these.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Who has the next question? Mr. Adrian?
Yeah. I was going to ask, how has your experience been this weekend during the convention?
How's my experience been this weekend at the convention? Well, I don't think I've been an official guest at this large of a con before. I think this is my biggest one, just numbers-wise, and maybe, no, I think this one numbers-wise is the biggest. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. I've been to San Diego Comic-Con before, so I know like how large things can get, how crazy it can get, but I wasn't like an official guest with multiple panels and multiple signing sessions, like, so I was like a little nervous going into it, but Greg Baldwin is here, and anytime he's with me, we're like a con father-daughter duo. Like anytime we're together, we're like, somebody's there who knows our vibe, like we can get dinner and get drinks afterwards, and like de-stress. So then I was like, it's gonna be fine, Greg's here. So, but it's been fun. Aside from, the fun elevator scramble in the morning, that has gotten progressively more crazy. Just like, so funny. Honestly, everybody's been really sweet, everybody's been really nice, and as far as the space goes, I didn't feel overwhelmed at all, because it's so huge, so everybody has so much to do. I was worried like it was going to be like accosting, because there's going to be so many people, but there's just so much space, so everybody's kind of spread out, so it never felt particularly overwhelming. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. Mr. Allen, you have another question, sir?
So I was doing a little research on you, and I know you do music as well. So I was very curious to know like what your stage name means, because I know you have like a bunch of different names that you kind of associate yourself with, and I know your music name is very different from So
props on you for doing research. Yes, I also dabbled in music. I mean, I've dabbled in everything. I'm in my 20s. You should do that. If you're like, this seems interesting, do it. That's the time. I mean, any time is the time, but it's easier, I feel like, in your 20s. So right before COVID, actually, I was in New York auditioning for musical theater, and I just really, in 2019, was like having this original music bug. I wanted to write. I wanted to like reach out to some of my producer friends and just create stuff. I've always had, maybe it's just always been inherently in me. It's fitting to be an actress. I had like an identity question mark. I'd never really liked my name growing up. I feel like people mispronounced it. My last name was different, so now I'm Michaela Murphy. But at the time, I was Michaela Mayhair. And so I would get a lot of like Michelle Miager and like a Michael Meager, and I was so like, ugh, it's not even, it doesn't sound pretty. I just had like a whole weird mental thing. So Jessie Flower, the stage name, I'm billed in Avatar and Meet the Robinsons, like all of that stuff, I'm Jessie, because I was 6, and I was like, you know what the coolest name is? Jessica. And even cooler than that, you shorten it. It's Jessie, like it's short and it's fast and it's cool. So I was like, yeah, Jessie. And my mom's like, last name. And I'm like, oh. So I came up with the flower like the next day. She's like, this is going places. We're going to put it on things. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Having no idea. And it is great. But then I turned 18 and I was like, this might have a little bit of a different vibe in certain contexts. I feel like this is no longer my actual personality. And for music, I like Halsey. It's like a pop artist, and she just twisted her name around, and it worked out because she's from New York, so it's like the Halsey stop in Brooklyn, but also it's just Ashley all moved around. And I was like, what can I do with my first name? And Michaela's like a little too long for one word, so I split it up. I found like Ace Hamill as like a split up of Michaela, just in a different order, and I was like, sure, that's cool. But then COVID happened, and I haven't really touched original music since then. I like kind of created a couple of songs with some friends, and then the whole world was like imploding, and I moved back to LA. I started voice acting again. Like all these things just happened. So I miss it. I want to go back to it. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the Ace Hamill thing, but that was the placeholder back then. So yeah, that's the journey of different names. I love having just different personalities to step into. I feel like people so easily lock into your one name and who you present first, and then that's how they remember you. And I want to be able to like put on a blue wig and go like perform with a rock band at midnight, and then people know me as that. And then I can also wake up and like talk about, I don't know, studying economics for a semester at Yale. You know what I mean? Like I just want to be different people and not have people be stuck on one thing. So I feel like the names are a way to try to separate it all. If that makes sense.
Just like Hannah Montana.
Yes, exactly like Hannah Montana.
Yes, Mr. Q.
How has anime affected your life?
It's changed it completely. You know, animation and anime, it's as we all know, has just taken on an entirely new life force, especially in the past 5 to 10 years. It's more accessible, it's more, you know, if you talk to somebody on the street about it, they'll know what you're talking about. Before it was just kind of this very hard to come by thing, and if you talk to, because even my grandparents know what it is now, right? Like they would never in a bajillion years, 10 years ago, known what I was talking about. They're still a little confused by what I do on the weekends, but they're starting to understand. But it's completely changed my life. I think it's a community of people, but also a space of creation that is just much more flexible than a lot of other areas of entertainment. And there's a lot more acceptance of just who you want to be, and anything you think of you can create. There's just room for that, and I think that's a very healthy space to be in mentally, which is great for life. And then being in my 20s when I'm like, what's happening? And it's like, yes, you can just be. And especially with, you know, Avatar going on Netflix, and then being kind of accepted by the anime community, because I know that Avatar is kind of a gateway anime. It's not real anime, but it's, you know, it's an honor because everybody's so sweet, and I just feel like, I don't know, the fans are the nicest. Nobody like comes up and like demands you. They're just like, okay, like, oh my gosh, I'm finally meeting, I don't know. I always use Twilight because when I went to San Diego Comic-Con, I think that's who was like there that year. I feel like if you go up to like Robert Pattinson, you're just gonna like freak out, and people like don't see him as a person, you know? And I feel like here, everybody's just like, we're all humans, like here because we love this stuff and like being ourselves. So I don't know, it's just been really kind of eye-opening and like a nice reminder, especially in the last couple years when so many things have been going crazy, that good people still exist and kind people still exist. Yeah, and the fact that they want to see me, so many of them want to see me, is really, really cool, and I'm definitely not taking it for granted, because it's been very helpful in a very tricky time, so I'm grateful, for sure.
I have time for one more question. It's your
No,
turn.
I was just going to ask a question, but we have one, after this question, we have time for one more.
Okay.
You brought up about the fans and of Avatar, The Last Airbender, and of that universe. And most recently, they got together and established the first con for the Avatar universe, Cabbage Con, that's going to start next year. What are your thoughts on Cabbage Con, and how do you feel about this new world of a convention just dedicated to Avatar and Korra?
Well, I think people have been clamoring for an Avatar specific con for a while, I think, and the fan base has been there, but there hasn't been a one common ground for everybody to necessarily meet on. And finally, they made like an official Instagram, I think in 2020, right? So then finally there started to be this kind of gathering. First of all, CabbageCon, perfect name, incredible, brilliant, never been done before. We love it. I'm so happy that that's the name. And this is, I don't know, hit or miss, but Mike and Brian have always been very true to their word, their vision, and I'm just curious if that's something that they're like excited about, or something that they're like, like I can't tell, because like with Netflix, the Netflix live action, adaptation, they were on board, but then something kind of made them want to leave, right? So they're very like true to their core values of what they are into and what they believe, which is great. I mean, that's why Avatar is so amazing. They're like, this is the story, here are the 3 seasons, you're not getting anything else. Okay, we'll make something new, but we're not gonna like make a season 4, like they're just very true to their vision. So it's one of those things where sometimes I wonder if when I come to these things, like, am I making them like mad? Like, am I exploiting Toph, or am I helping further the love? Like, sometimes I can't tell like what the balance is. So in that same realm, I feel like they would probably love it because they're like, yes, artists gathering like creativity, like they love fan art and like the fan love around it. But in another sense, I wonder if they're like, just, consumerism, blah, like I can't tell. But I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm excited to see if they're going to be pop-up versions, or if it's going to move, or if it's going to stay in one place. But yeah, I feel like we should have already had like an Avatar theme park. I feel like that should already exist. So
There's
yeah.
a Peppa Pig theme park.
Yeah, there's a Peppa
So why
Pig theme
can't
park.
we
I
have
mean,
an
there are
Avatar
already
one?
2 rides, 3 rides at the Mall of America or something that are kind of Avatar themed. So yeah, I was like, what? We should already have that. So CabbageCon, yeah, we're ready for it. Let's go.
I'm going to put my oldest son on that. He wants to design theme parks.
Wow, that's very specific and perfect.
He's a mechanical engineer, so
Oh,
he's
that
the one
works.
you want to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but I think I trust him.
Yeah, I'll hook y'all up.
All right, one more question, Mr. Allen.
So I know you, like I mentioned before with your screenwriting, I know you did a short film called Nostalgia. So I was wondering if, like, what kind of stories do you like to tell? Or if you want to talk about nostalgia, that's cool too. Like, what, like for you, like as a screenwriter, like what kind of like genres and stories do you like to, share with our audience?
Yeah. What kind of stories as a screenwriter do I like to tell? You've done your research, sir. I created a short film in 2020. Gosh, timeline. Yeah, it was 2020. It was September of 2020. My goodness, time flies. And I did that because I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, and I grew up, as many of us probably did, under the guise of however well I did, whatever, the better grade I got, the better received I would be, blah, blah, blah. That's not how art works. You need to just do and try, and then you'll be like, all right, you did the thing. Next time we're going to get better at this, this, and this. So I wrote something that was very familiar to what was happening right then, close to me, that sort of thing, just to get the practice in. It was kind of just coming of age, summer during COVID, a couple friends coming back after being separated after college, that sort of thing. I think deep down, I really like kind of historical fiction dramas, like Queen's Gambit, or like Bridgerton, where you take something and you twist it and just make it, relatable to now. That's kind of what I'm working on at the moment, and I feel like that's just where my brain lives for the music, the fashion, the colors of that decade, like I kind of live in those more colorful worlds. Not that today's very colorful, but I feel like I live more in a past kind of trajectory for how I like to tell my stories. I also like thrillers, but I feel like I like very mental, like psychological thrillers, which just take a different kind of thinking, and you have to be really smart about it. And I haven't even tried writing that genre yet, but I feel like I want to try it sometime in the future. So yeah, that's kind of where my brain lives. Nostalgia was just like a 10-minute, crank it out, get the experience, shooting, editing, finding a color grader, finding a friend to do original music, like just doing the hard steps. And I was like happy with it. I was like, it's cute. It's not amazing. I'm like, that's okay. So very much a learning experience for like the process.